Hello, my name is Alex Young. I'm a psychotherapist located in Colorado, specializing in recovery from porn and sex addiction. Today, I want to talk with you about what it takes to create a personal recovery plan. So often, I see folks get a little complacent about the recovery, to put it into cruise control for a little while, and I have to tell you, this is dangerous ground. This is where slips and relapses most likely occur. When we're too confident in our recovery, that's the very moment our addiction is able to sneak back into our lives. So today, we'll be talking about the tools of recovery. What is in your toolbox that you use on a regular basis to maintain your sobriety? So to start off, exactly what is a personal recovery plan? As a foundation, a recovery plan is a strategy. It's the tools, the changes you'll need to make to free yourself from a porn addiction. So what are the tools of a personal recovery plan? In this presentation, we're going to be talking about 11 essential tools of recovery, practices, techniques, and lifestyle changes that foster and encourage a healthy sexuality free from porn addiction. First off, you need to remember, no one thing in this list is the cure. There's no magic pill. These are all tools of a recovery plan. While there's no single recipe that works for everyone, the following suggestions should be looked at as possible ways to stay focused on recovery. Consider each one of these as an incremental value to recovery. Just like a lake is made up of countless millions of raindrops, so too is our recovery based on using the tools of recovery every day. There's an old saying that our growth is in the direction of our choices. So I offer these up as choices for you to make that keep you moving in the direction of recovery. Now remember, as you create your recovery plan, not everything is an action or behavior to follow. There are 4 key ingredients to achieving recovery that are personal characteristics. And they're foundational to any recovery. The first is humility. It's a humbling experience to have to face the reality of addiction, to admit you have a problem. You have to be able to set aside your ego and just face the fact that you're powerless over pornography and the consequences it has had in your life. Instead of ego, foster a sense of curiosity about recovery and your journey in it. How did you come to be this way? What are the cues and triggers that set off the addictive cycle? The second is motivation. The need to change finally becomes important enough for you to want to do it. The pain of staying in the addiction is worse than the challenge of learning to live life in recovery. The people who succeed at recovery are able to accurately evaluate the costs and benefits of their addiction. And not everybody's able to do this. It's a process to come to this point. This is where treatment can be very helpful. Treatment can help people take an honest, hard look at their situation. This helps them to evaluate the costs and the benefits more accurately. But no one can motivate you except for you. It must come from within. The patterns of addictive behaviors were created a long time ago in each one of us. They've been thoroughly set in your brain as well-worn patterns. Just like the wagons crossing the Old West in the 1800s, there are trails that the wagon wheels just naturally want to slip back into. Your brain has old, comfortable, familiar ways of acting and reacting. It will take a sustained effort to unlearn those old, unhealthy habits and learn healthier ones. It is better to consider this as a marathon rather than a sprint. You're in this for the long haul. Rediscovering or finding meaning and purpose in life. What is the reason you want to recover from porn addiction? It's not just an easy question with a flip answer. When you can understand the why of your recovery, it's going to help you figure out the how of doing it. Crafting a vision for the future free from porn addiction, is critical to mapping out a path forward. Without that vision, recovery will be directionless and won't have a lot of resilience in the future. Now, no recovery is going to work if you don't have a good foundation to work from. That means you're following some healthy habits in terms of sleep, exercise, and nutrition. If any of the 3 is lacking, you lose resilience to fight off temptation. Sleep is where you process the day's events. It's where you recharge your brain for tomorrow and ingrain new tasks that you've learned. Sleep deprivation has proven to be one of the most effective torture techniques there is because it's so essential for our well-being. Without good sleep, we just don't have the mental faculty or the willpower to fight off triggers and temptations. Eating seems like a pretty obvious idea as well. It's not only are you getting the right amount of food, but is it the right type? If you're putting junk food into your system, you might want to look at how much sugar you're really consuming. How much fast food are you eating on a regular basis? Eating right provides good fuel for your brain and your body to respond appropriately to challenges. And exercise is a key factor in discharging stress and anxiety. Connecting with your body in healthy ways can help diffuse the pull of an addictive behavior. Cortisol is a stress hormone that's important in our fight or flight response system. So what would be the problem with that hormone? If we're living a stressful, fast-paced lifestyle, we end up pumping cortisol into our systems continuously. Exercise not only helps us diffuse that cortisol, it also trains our body to react better to stress. So given this triad of health, how do you harness it on a daily basis to recover? I think the answer is in how you start and end each day. Humans are creatures of habit. We're used to a pattern and we follow it even when it doesn't work out for us any longer. How many times have you rushed out of the house in the morning already thinking about the problems you're going to face in the day? And it ends up that you only have an awful day, full of stress, anxiety, irritation. Consider implementing a morning routine and an evening routine. Start the day off on the right foot, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Prepare to engage in healthy behaviors. Take the time to meditate, to journal, to read, and to exercise in the morning. This doesn't have to be 2 hours worth of these activities. It can be as simple as 10 minutes. Take 10 minutes in the evening to reflect on what went right today, what didn't go the way you expected it to, and where you need to improve and double down on your efforts tomorrow. By not taking this time to prepare, we are at the mercy of all the bad situations out there. Third, why don't you consider going on a technology diet? There's two elements at work here, the breadth and the depth of the technology in our lives. First off, look at the ways you've used technology to further your addiction. It is time to clean house. Change any email addresses you've used for chat sites, dating sites, logging into porn sites. Cancel the accounts you've used for acting out in the past. That includes any secret email addresses and bank accounts. I also looking at the credit cards you have. Do you have any secret cards? Any bank accounts other people don't know about? A hidden stash of cash. Now's the time to get rid of those. The second way is look at how much technology is in your life, just the breadth of it. Is that helping you or is it hurting you? I know we're all glued to our phones, but how much is too much? Are you able to turn it off for an hour while you focus on work? Do you end up turning on the TV first thing when you get home from work? Disconnecting from tech, even for a month, can be a huge jumpstart to find different ways to stimulate or comfort your brain. And you have to ask yourself, what else in your life is out of control? Breaking an addiction is like squeezing Jell-O. It comes out in other ways. Look at all the ways your lifestyle might be considered addictive. Is it too much work? Having a hard time getting home on time? Is it video games, gambling, spending? Or is it just hobbies that consume all of your non-work hours? Look at the amount of alcohol you're drinking, the cigarettes, the coffee, or the recreational drugs that you're using. Consider where these might be addictive as well. You know, 12-step programs are a time-proven way for people struggling with an addiction to find a supportive community. There are programs specific to a sex or porn addiction, both in person and over the phone. Sexaholics Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, and Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous are perhaps the three most well-known groups out there. And there's some reasons that 12-step groups work. First is you can decide if you actually really have an addiction. Go to a 12-step meeting and hear other people's stories. Decide if there's any similarities between their stories and yours. You can overcome some of your denial about addiction that way. you can see that addiction can affect anybody. Addiction is one of those times when it's comforting to know that you're just not alone. You might meet people who are going through the same thing you are. There's power in belonging to a group. Being around people recovering from the same issues as you can make you feel stronger. It's a pretty common reaction to think you can deal with this addiction on your own. But addiction is an isolating disease, and 12-step groups give you the chance to reach out and ask for help. You might be able to learn that recovery is possible. Just by seeing others recovered from the addiction, you can develop the confidence to make the changes in your life. You can learn other people's recovery techniques. Think of your 12-step meeting like a valuable resource. Ask others how they handle difficult situations. Ask them if what you're going through is normal. There's likely going to be a day in your future where you have an overwhelming urge to surf porn, that perfect storm of a day where everything goes wrong. It's good to know that other people have gone through the same thing and find out how they got through it. In 12-step groups, you won't be judged. As a porn addict, it can be hard to know what you're feeling, much less share your emotions. Partly because of the fear nobody will understand and the potential to feel judged, people at 12-step group don't judge you because they've all heard it before. They've all done it before. Once you've been attending a 12-step group for a short while, consider working with a sponsor. A sponsor is simply a person who's gone before you. He or she's worked the steps and can help mentor you. The primary responsibility of a sponsor is to help you go through the 12 steps yourself. He or she can also help you get established quickly in the fellowship by explaining the concepts and the terminology to you and introducing you to others in the program. And lastly, a sponsor can help hold you accountable to your commitments and keep you focused on your program of recovery. Let's talk about accountability. How do we rebuild trust again with our partner, our children, our employers, and our friends? Rebuilding trust is a process. It's been described as demonstrating consistent behavior over time. As an addict, we just don't get to control the amount of time it takes to rebuild that trust. All we can do is our part. Being responsible for our actions, being accountable for our whereabouts, not becoming defensive when questioned, and being open to being understood better are the building blocks for recreating trust. Second thought on accountability is I want you to think about all the people you know in the world. How many of them really know you well? And how many of them do you know well to the same depth? How many folks know the inner struggles you face in your relationships, in your work, in your recovery? Think about creating an accountability group. These are the people that are in your tribe. They're people you can trust, that you can be honest with, and you're willing to share your struggles with them. They don't have to come from a 12-step group. They can be people from different areas of your life. So what makes a good accountability partner? A big note here, it's not going to be your spouse or your partner. Wives and girlfriends don't generally make good accountability partners. Anyone who's romantically connected to you shouldn't have to be in a place of checking up on you. Secondly, it needs to be someone who can tell you a hard truth, something you may not see in yourself, but they do it out of respect and out of compassion. It also needs to be a person willing to be there with you at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep and are really struggling, and you just need to talk to somebody. Last note on accountability, friendship. How many people know the real you? As we become adults, often our school friendships get overtaken with the start of our own families and the trajectory of our careers. It can become very isolating. The number of folks who know us deeply often shrinks to just our spouse. In recovery, it's good to have the goal of reestablishing or even creating new relationships that are deep. This emotional connection with others is crucial in being able to share yourself, share your vulnerabilities, and build each other up. Replaying old movies in your head. Either a euphoric recall of past acting out and or the negative self-talk. We all have beliefs about how the world should work and what our role in it should be. Some of us see ourselves as heroes, others as worthless losers. For most porn addicts, there are two beliefs that seem fairly consistent. The first is, I'm a bad, worthless person. This is the shame talking. The second is, if you really knew me, you would reject me. This leads to isolation. It leads to image management, putting up a false front. And thoughts are dangerous animals. Our brain pumps out thoughts continuously. Sometimes the thought is useful, other times it's damaging. Mindfulness teaches us to put some distance from our thoughts, to embrace the saying, I don't have to believe everything I think. Now, it takes some practice to be able to disconnect from our thoughts, to not engage in them. But by doing so, you're able to better let go of the storyline of the thought. With this, you have the tools and the practice to examine a thought for its usefulness and not instantly act on it. Seventh, get educated. Get knowledgeable on sex and porn addiction. Learning how the brain works in an addictive cycle is an important part of being able to use it for your healing. The reward center of the brain is hijacked through porn, and it creates a neurochemical soup not all that different from amphetamines. Learn how the brain is able to change itself through neuroplasticity. Read through other stories of recovery and rebuilding of their lives for inspiration and motivation. Gain a deeper understanding of what you can expect from your recovery journey. Several books are highly recommended. I really like Out of the Shadows by Dr. Patrick Carnes, Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson, Facing Love Addiction by Pia Melody, and Mending a Shattered Heart for Partners of Sex and Porn Addicts by Dr. Stephanie Carnes. I have a list of recommended books on our website at trailheadcounseling.com. Fire drills. What to do when you feel like you're sinking. Escape plans. Recovery from addiction is difficult. It's going to be one of the hardest things you're likely to ever do in your life, because it is the change from unhealthy thoughts, emotions, and behaviors that have likely been in place for years. And because of this, it's not likely to be a straight line process. There will be setbacks. Slips and relapses are not part of a recovery effort, they're part of the addiction trying to reassert itself. Anticipating triggers, difficult circumstances, and dangerous situations ahead of time can give you the chance to build an escape route. How will you not engage in the old behaviors you've been using for years? What will you do instead? Run through these scenarios with your accountability partners, your sponsor, and your counselor to ensure you've thought it through sufficiently. As you seek to put the curse of a porn addiction behind you, you're going to eventually need to do a lot of self-reflection. Remembering the people you hurt, money you lost, or opportunities you squandered while you were wrapped up in the lure of pornography is not going to be a pleasant experience. But it is necessary if you want any chance of overcoming your addiction. If you try and bury your memories instead of dealing with them, they're going to come back to haunt you. They'll come back in the form of anxiety, depression, guilt, remorse, and low self-esteem. Ultimately, these feelings will greatly increase your chances of a relapse. So I'm not talking about a Dear Diary type of journal, but a very focused one that's really centered on your journey in recovery. And there's a couple things that are really key to that journal. First is, what am I learning? As you go through the different points of your program in sobriety, in the 12-step programs, and working with a counselor or maybe group work, what are the lessons you're learning, both yourself and as you hear other stories? Second, where are you being challenged? What are the triggers, the frustrations, the mental roadblocks that seem to get in your way? Third, track your progress. Record important dates. Celebrate the victories you experience in recovery. And last, remain focused on the reasons you're making this change. Motivation is central to recovery. Remain motivated by recalling why you're making this change. And even better, write down why and review it every day in the morning as you start off your day. So everyone talks about meditation, but do you really understand why it's important in addiction recovery? In neurology, the study of the brain, It's said that neurons that fire together wire together. That creates a pretty tight bond between stimulus and response. But it also helps to shrink other parts of the brain. It's been shown in functional MRI brain scans that an addict, specifically porn addiction, a person actually loses gray matter from the frontal lobe of his or her brain. And this is where the executive functioning is stored. This is where reasoning and logic is stored. It's where risk management and calculation of consequences is performed. When it shrinks, an addict finds himself or herself taking chances and risks that are just crazy. Meditation has been shown to increase that frontal lobe. Even something as simple as 15 minutes a day over a few months can help rebuild gray matter lost to addictive behaviors. You need to determine whether you need to work on just an addiction problem or whether you also need to address other life's problems. You don't need to solve all these problems all at the same time. However, you may need additional resources and help. A porn or sex addiction is often a maladaptive coping mechanism to a life stressor. People have learned to become addicted over time, and they retreat to porn as a way to deal with the stress, or the anxiety, or the anger, or boredom of life. Taking an inventory of your life to see what else is going off the rails is part of a recovery effort. Taking an honest, thorough look is creating the ability to be proactive in your life. Deal with the issues rather than retreat back to pornography. Recovery from addiction may also mean making some really hard decisions about your lifestyle. Do you have friends who encourage and foster your addictive behaviors? Is it impossible to get along at work because everyone else is doing the same thing? Is your job an enabler of your addiction? Shutting off these influencers is not going to be easy. Changing jobs is always a difficult option, but it just might be necessary to overcome the addiction. Likewise, talking with friends about how you can't be part of certain activities any longer with them may put you at odds with them. It may mean actually finding new friends. A good counselor can walk with you through that process and help you with the hard decisions. This is the time to be brutally honest with yourself about what you're capable of handling and where you need help. Working with a therapist can be an effective treatment for mental and emotional problems. But to really get all the benefits of counseling, it's really important to choose the right therapist, someone you trust, who makes you feel cared for and has the experience and training to help you make the changes for the better in your life. A good therapist will not only challenge you, but will help you become stronger and more self-aware. But your therapist cannot and should not do the work for you. In order to make the most of your sessions, you must be an active participant. As a bonus, I want to point out a very important part of addiction recovery is to remember to have fun in your life. You need to build opportunities to relax, reconnect, and play. I want you to remember fun is not a four-letter word. You need to be able to embrace it. And this includes time for yourself, self-care. What did you used to be like before the addiction was present? What kind of activities did you used to really enjoy? Is it biking, hiking, photography? Were you a foodie? Was it a movie buff kind of thing? Find out what it was that you used to really enjoy and have lost sight of. Secondly, time with friends without your partner. Hanging with your people is important. The need to belong is a really strong one, and a supportive group of friends can help connect you with more motivation and resilience. And then lastly, time with your partner. Significant time with your other can help increase the bonds and reduce the temptations. Just remember, you're learning how to live life again without the addiction. You owe it to yourself to experience happy moments free of the addictive behaviors. For some, this may require a lot of practice. So I just want to recap real quick. The 11 different items we've talked about and the one bonus. Remember that there's 4 personal characteristics central. There's a triad of foundational health between sleep, exercise, and diet. And speaking of diet, look at the technology you use in your life. How's it helping or hurting you? 4, who is your community of support? Where are you getting that encouragement, that accountability? Which is number 5. How are you becoming transparent? How are you rebuilding trust? 6, looking at the self-talk, the negative self-talk and the beliefs that keep you locked in the addiction. 7, get smarter about the addiction process and how your brain works. 8, create fire drills for how to get out of tough situations. 9, record your journey. Use it for self-reflection. 10, use counseling as a way to explore how this became to be, how to get out of it, and how to become more self-aware in the future. And 11, the glue that kind of holds a lot of this together, meditation, learning how to be quiet in the moment and let thoughts come and go, and learning how not to engage in the storyline of a thought. And finally, the bonus lesson is learning how to have fun again in a healthy lifestyle without the addiction. I want to leave you with a question. What is your true nature? You may feel, as you think about this, that you've suffered with this problem for so long. It's just a part of who you are. It's built into your very DNA. You may feel you're just built to live life as a porn addict. I don't believe that. Addiction is not something that we're born with. It's something we develop over time as a way to deal with life. I truly believe becoming the man or woman that you were meant to be is to discover the truth about who you are, the gifts you have been given, and what your purpose in life is, what's really intended for. When we live with purpose, our actions, our beliefs, and our emotions are shaped by that purpose. It becomes the overarching theme for how we live our lives. When you're truly ready to make changes in your life and kick your porn addiction, I can help. I specialize in sexual addiction recovery, and I work with men, couples, and partners of addicts in their journey of healing. The process of recovery can be difficult. It's wise to choose mentors, friends, and a counselor who are supportive and non-judgmental. For a counselor, it's critical you find someone specifically trained in dealing with the sex addiction. I encourage you to call me at 720-248-8163 or email me at alex@trailheadcounseling.com. Let's talk about how you can become the man or woman that you were meant to be. Thank you.